So originally I wasn't gonna make this video possibly, but it had to be done. It had to be done because this shit is too much, to be honest. This shit was, to be honest, is just, and keeps messing up with the with another certain person just because Twitter added again with the cancel culture. Now, who is getting canceled this time? It's Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast is getting canceled for what he's now. If you guys don't know, Mr. Beast is a well-known YouTuber who has a lot of subscribers. He's really well known to make videos on him donating to charity and stuff. So somebody actually found a video on Mr. Beast that was 2016, that was made in 2016, and did a video on him, made a video on him making fun of let's just say on the video he did, like, I don't know, he did this video on him making fun of people who on attack helicopter in 2016. Now keep in mind the video is deleted, but someone found a video on it with him and his friend Chris the Meme God. About the video. They confronted with him. I will put the link of the video of the tweet down below. But the problem is, now people have to realize, the problem with it is people are really thinking, oh, he's trans. They want to cancel him for something he did. They think he's transphobic or some shit, even though this is not who he is now. I really hate how the cancel culture wants to affect everybody, unless they did really shitty shit. But Mr. Beast really does some shitty shit, like being a pedophile. But Mr. Beast did this joke. Keep in mind, 2018. No, not 2018. 2016 was at the time where people were making jokes on SJWs and stuff. PewDiePie did it. So did the other people in the world. You have to realize that this is the internet. The internet at the time, to be honest, was an edgy internet. 2000 through 2016-ish. Through maybe because at the time people were making really offensive jokes because the internet was one of those edgy internet, because making edgy jokes back then was okay as long as you didn't offend anybody. Well, the jokes can be offensive to anyone or anybody in general. But I believe you shouldn't be canceling him for a joke that happened in 2016. It's like canceling somebody for saying the N-word back in, I don't know, 2014, 2015, when they were like young and dumb. Like, this is why people say Twitter is a dumpster fire. You guys are making very edgy you're canceling people for edgy jokes they did years ago. I can understand if he did this today because it's not funny anymore. And you know, comedy is pretty much suggestive. It's pretty suggestive. Like, any comedy can be funny. Like, you can make a very racist joke. Back in, I don't know, 2013, 2014, people will laugh at it. But if you did it right now, people would be mad at you and try to cancel you and try to dig up your past. People are trying to cancel him for stuff he did in the past. Like, for example, I remember he used to make those type of videos called worst intros. He would make fun of kids' intros, and he stopped doing that because he realized that YouTube he realized that he realized that kids are watching his content, and you know, if kids sees that shit, they won't. Parents will be mad and stuff, and try to and they will say, "Don't watch Mr. Beast and stuff." So that's why Mr. Beast stopped doing that stuff, because he realized doing that stuff can affect him. He wants to be well known as a good person because he changed his life. Like, people can change unless they're like really, unless they're one of those type of people that don't want to change. Yandere Dev. Then that's the point. It's the internet. The internet's gonna be very offensive. If you don't like it, then leave the internet. Then leave. The internet is not for you if you're gonna be offended. Yes, jokes. This was back. Now I'm gonna say this. Jokes aside. Many jokes. I'm sorry if I'm saying that. I'm gonna say this. Jokes aside. The internet has changed drastically, in my honest opinion. It was back in the day. If you made the internet was at the time was a safe haven for you to escape from reality, as long as you didn't do really offensive shit. As long as you didn't do borderline criminal shit. Even though there were some people who did borderline criminal shit. But nowadays, if you did borderline criminal shit, people will try to find. Yes, I can understand people will do criminal shit, but if they just doing it just to for attention, then that's dumb. And then they get in trouble by the police, and then the FBI will be involved in other shit. YouTube at the time. YouTube back then was very good. Like, you didn't have to do a lot of, there weren't much videos back then, but I believe they were okay as long as you didn't offend anybody and stuff. Because YouTube was once those videos on cats and stuff. You could just make videos on cat videos and stuff. But nowadays, you can't do that anymore. Now it's just clickbait and shit. But I believe Mr. Beast is redeemable, because people can be redeemable as long as they don't do fucked up shit. As long as they're not like Yandere Dev, who did a lot of fucked up shit. Like, for example, try to suicide baited somebody because he was just tired, because they made a video. They made a better game than him and other stuff. I believe that Mr. Beast don't deserve all that hate what he did. Maybe that doesn't affect him. He don't think that as right now, because he's one of those type of people. Like Mr. Beast, like, please leave Mr. Beast alone for what he did. Yes, what he did was very stupid. But guess what? People do a lot of really dumb shit online when they were young and dumb and didn't know what they were doing at the time. But if they changed their attitude, that's dumb. It's like this. Many YouTubers are getting canceled for stuff they said in the past. Or did some really edgy shit in the past. Because keep in mind, the internet at the time wasn't edgy internet. Nowadays, it's more of a sane internet. I believe the internet's more sane. Because back then, people would do anything. Would do any bad shit. Like, I could think of many really edgy shit they did. Like, for example, people would link you really shock videos, like really shocking videos, shock videos and stuff. Nowadays, people can will post shock videos and stuff. Post shock videos or so. Shock videos. If you post shock videos, people would be very, you know, I don't want to sound triggered about that. We'll get very, you know, very grossed out or something like that. But now if you did do that, people would try to expose you for that shit. and get you in, and then you'll be in big trouble. And then yeah, people will do that because the internet's not what it used to be back in 2011, back in 2010, the 2011, I believe the 2011 internet, the 2010 internet was very edgy in my honest opinion, because people back then would always try to attack me for stuff because I was with a boyfriend. This was at the time when if you did some stuff like, for example, still art or sprite or stuff like that, they would hunt you down like a Salem witch trial stuff. Like, Mr. Beast don't deserve all that hate because of what he did. I understand what he did was wrong and stuff, but that was the internet. This was at the time when SJWs were at its highest peak. SJWs were at its highest peak. But nowadays, if you did stuff like this, for example, say really questionable stuff, back then people are still gonna cancel you out for what you did. That's why I feel like the internet needs to be. This is why I feel like people need to have common sense or something like that. Or don't jump to conclusion, because if you jump to conclusion about what the person did back in the day, that person will be mad at you and want you dead and stuff. Yeah, I realize that people can't do that to people all the time. You can't always try to cancel someone for something they did 5 to 10 years ago, and they admit from their mistake. Like, if they admit from their mistake, and they say that they're not that person who they are, just accept it, because you guys are the reason why the cancel culture is still active. I understand, like, fucking Madame, who did a lot of questionable shit and stuff. But if they're like, or Yandere Dev, but if they're like people who did some stuff years ago, there's some stuff like pretty much, and they no longer that person who they was now, you need to realize that that person is not who they are now. Just move on and stuff. Unless they are like, I don't know, unless they're like a pedophile, then they just either get help or something like that. So I might link the video on Cancel Crab made by Uncle Al to prove that the cancel culture can be very very toxic towards anybody. You know, they could sometimes will say, let's send mean tweets and see how he likes it. Like, they'll dig up, like how they dig up your past and stuff, saying you said the N-word or something, and then want you dead and gone and stuff. And then once that person tries to stood up to you, they'll get attacked. I believe that Twitter is just a dumpster fire. It's a dumpster fire full of people who just want to cancel you. People who were once on Tumblr, who were once SJWs, but I don't believe Tumblr is not an SJW site. I don't think that. There are going to be SJWs in the world besides Tumblr. Tumblr is just a site. People use that site as anything they want, as a safe haven. People say what the reason why Tumblr was bad is because of the SJWs, but who cares? There's a lot of SJWs. There are going to be SJWs anywhere besides Tumblr, because Tumblr is a site, not a fucking. Because Tumblr is not a fucking SJW site. There are going to be SJW sites anywhere besides. Yes, I know Social Justice Warriors is just it's overused and stuff, but but that's just what people are thinking. This was at the time when SJWs were very triggered, and you made trigger jokes and stuff. Now if you make trigger jokes, people will get pissed at you and want you gone and try to cancel you, even if you did say it was just a joke, Comedy, to be honest, is suggestive. Comedy is different. You can make dark comedy. You can make dark comedy, and it will be very funny. You can make very funny. You can make something very funny, and it would be like, you can make something about, you could say the N-word, and people will laugh about that, even though it's a joke. The internet has changed so much. Nowadays, if you said stuff like that, people will be mad at you. If you make jokes about like a certain celebrity's death, people will be mad at you for that celebrity's death. And it's true. Will be mad at you for that. Dark comedy. You can make any dark comedy as long as you don't, unless you take it too far. Like certain jokes like 9/11 and Titanic jokes. So yeah, I believe that people are still canceling him for stuff he did in the past, and I believe they need to leave that out and he's not like that person who he is today. So yeah, I believe they need to stop canceling people for stuff they did in the past and move on with their life. Like, get a life. And get a life or so. Because he is trying to be at least a decent person. People make mistakes. You can't just cancel someone for saying stuff like that. Like, stop trying to cancel people for what they did. Instead of that, you should be like making sure that the person is not like making unless they're like really like bad stuff, bad things they did, then leave that person alone and just admit that people make mistakes. People make jokes and stuff on the internet, and and nowadays this is why people say this is why you get boomers out there making fun of us millenniums. So yeah, I hope you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you the next time. Peace.